All right. Well, I'm Julian Gallardi, and we're joined by Matt and Jeff. We're all in World Baseball Network, and today we're going to discuss Pool A. We're going to try a four-part series here, kind of going pool by pool, dropping relevant WBC news as it comes. I know a big one today was Jose Altuve outside of Pool A. So, how do you guys feel about that? Maybe before we dive into Pool A.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting deal of what Omar Lopez has to assess to the media tomorrow via Zoom. And I feel like, Venezuela is in an interesting position because of the United States military also going in to capture
Yeah.
Nicolas Maduro on January 3rd. That was pretty much everything leading up to certain guys that played in LVBP during that time, if they could leave the country accessibly. We know Jackson Churio is playing for the Aguilas de Zulia organization down there in Venezuela. Had a little bit of mishap of leaving, but I think he's now confined and back in the United States, or even if he's still in Venezuela, probably has logistics to work and get down to spring training in Arizona. I think having a bat like Jose Altuve is pretty much going to, you know, not sequence into them not having him. I think it's like who's going to step up now. Like, do you have Andres Jimenez, Jackson Churio, like I said before, Eugenio Suarez, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of options that I feel like Omar Lopez can take into place with Venezuela. In first pitch once March 6th comes around down here at Lone Depot Park in Miami.
Yeah, I think it's a big loss. I mean, if he's not going to play, because they don't really have anyone that can play second base for them and replace that. And Andres Jimenez is a glove first guy. He's not going to do a whole lot with the bat. So that's a big loss. They don't really have that many options. Really, the depth for them isn't like what it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. They have like their high-end guys, and then there's kind of a drop-off after that. So I think it's going to be a tough player to replace for them. So, but that's, it's not necessarily confirmed yet that he's out, and that's their best hitter.
Yeah.
So
What about Gleyber Torres? I feel like he could probably carry some of the bulk that Altuve will leave
I think
behind a little bit.
Glaber, I think he's going to have insurance problems, honestly. So I
Oh,
don't know
really? Oh,
because
wow.
I think he
Okay.
had off-season surgery. I think
He
after the
did.
season.
That's right. I know
Before
he.
Lakeland.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
someone said he was going to play, but they probably were speaking out of turn because I don't think it's been fully confirmed. Like, it's tough to get this stuff fully confirmed. Like, sometimes someone says, yeah, then that's not even close to being true. Then it's the other way. They don't think they will, then they end up playing. So it's a lot of craziness going around. And Jeff helps us decipher what's true, what's not true a lot of times. So we really appreciate you for that.
So during those revamp games that they're going to have in South Florida, that's going to be a big help for them to play in these Grapefruit League games and assess on what rosters they're going to put out for most national teams during that time frame. And even on the Tokyo side, we'll get down the road with that. I think it's interesting. You have national teams like Australia and Czech Republic. They're playing NPB teams to begin the World Baseball Classic revamp lane. So I feel that's kind of a correlation to see what guys are up to par, everything else. And then Cuba, they're playing in the Cactus League to start before they go to San Juan. I thought that was kind of interesting that Cuba wasn't going to stay in Puerto Rico as of yet, that being United States territory and so forth. I thought it was going to be more Scout League teams with the LBPRC. You have the Liga Superior Double A that is also going on during that time frame. Yes, the competition is a little bit of a different variance when you have the Cuban team that is mainly full of guys in Serie Nacional right now, and also some guys that do play in Japan throughout most of that roster. And then Yariel Rodriguez. I mean, what's our thought on Yariel Rodriguez coming back to the World Baseball Classic after defecting, leaving when he came back to Cuba, and then leaving to the Dominican Republic prior to the Blue Jays signing him back in 2023. I think it's kind of a little bit of an interesting uphold what Herman Mesa, the manager of Cuba, has to pretty much build around. Like, what do you guys think that there's limited? I feel like there's going to be limited guys on this Cuba roster than in 2023, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts about everything else that's going on with Cuba's World Baseball Classic roster heading into Pool A.
Jeff,
Okay,
go ahead.
For Cuba, honestly, this is the worst roster than they had last time. As far as all the names that they said, this is worse because they had the situation with Yadir Drake because he tested positive and then he appealed, and then I think he said he was going to win the appeal or whatever, but Herman Mesa basically just told him, and Federation just was like, you're not welcome back. And he is by far their best first base option. Like, it's they just don't have anybody who can really fill those shoes. I mean, they have I can't remember his name right now, the minor leaguer who played for Milwaukee this past in AAA. Martinez Jr. I can't remember his first name right now. I'm drawing a blank on it. But he's going to be their first baseman. But Yadir Drake was like, when they moved him up in the lineup in the last WBC, the offense came alive because he was always getting on base. And he's performed for Cuba at every level of international play. And they don't have him for this edition. And they're bringing in guys at like high A. They're bringing like Alfredo Despaigne. He's not. This is not the level he should be at.
In 2009, he played in the edition in the second World Baseball
Classic. And then you have Alexi Ramirez, who played in 06, and he's like 44 years old. So we're getting really wild.
On the preliminary roster, so we'll know February 3rd.
That's true. Good point. Yeah.
When that for now, at least, comes around, if he will be on the majority of cuts. But this pitching is like rough. Dicebel Hernandez, he was a prospect at one point, right? So you have some Yazimir Cousin. I mean, it's pretty much a roster of guys that are mostly in Serie Nacional, played in affiliate baseball, or either played in Liga Mexicana de Baseball as like their highest rate of professional baseball in their careers. And you still need to get permission from the Cuban Federation to play in LMB like you need to do in NPB in Japan. So there's a lot of outlook here that, well, Cuba's pretty much having a set roster for the Serie de las Americas that's not even going to be their complete World Baseball Classic team. Probably they scout like 5 or 6 guys. Does that radius into pitching? And, the Serie de las Americas being in its second year, and you have club league winners in Colombia, Curacao, Nicaragua, Argentina again. Panama is going to bring the Águilas Metropolitanas that did not play a season in Panama Pro Base. The champion of the Liga Venezolana de Baseball Profesional is also going to play, because they're the host, in the Serie de las Americas in Caracas. And pretty much for that roster, you're only going to assess with really pitching for the World Baseball Classic, possibly in the bullpen for Venezuela. That's going to be on that roster for the Serie de las Americas, in the next 10 days. I just feel that Cuba will not probably win a game in this World Baseball Classic. I don't think they're going to beat Canada and the rest of the teams that are there. Colombia, host nation Puerto Rico, and Panama. Maybe they'll have some length to try to beat them. I don't think they're beating the best in the Caribbean, or the best, let alone with what we're going to see from Canada probably in the first round.
Is their ace, but after him, it's just a huge drop off.
Wait, who's their ace? Yariel?
No, Levon Moinelo.
Moinelo, right.
Because Yariel can only throw 2 innings, so he can't be an ace. Like, he's going to be like a bullpen guy.
The Blue Jays are monitoring him.
Yeah. I guess so, and I hope that Cuba can figure it out somehow. I'm very upset with how the rosters turns out. I know it's above my head why it turns out this way. Obviously, there's a million different reasons why they're not letting certain players play. Certain players don't feel like they should play because they don't like what's going on, and I respect that because you can't force anyone to play who doesn't want to. Obviously, doesn't feel right about playing. But it's not going to be good baseball for them, unfortunately. And they might end up not even winning one game in the pool, which is a disgrace for Cuban baseball, obviously. Or they might end up maybe getting lucky and squeaking out one somehow, but that's still not a sure thing. But they're normally like a top four-ish team in these tournaments. Like they've gone to the finals a couple. I
The
think
2000s, yeah.
I know they were fourth last year though. They were getting the semis, so they only made the finals once or twice. I know they made it at least once.
They only made it
Just in
once
the
in
beginning.
06.
And
And then the Olympics, they played in a few gold medal games.
Yeah, there was a few times they made it like semi-far though, when they had like a competitive team.
Yeah, Pedro Lazo. I mean, the list goes on. El Duque before '98 played in multiple Central American, Caribbean games and Pan American games. So I mean, it's not the same. Like it's just not the same dynamic of baseball that was like that then because you didn't have professional players until 1999 in the Pan American Games, kind of, building up to everything else. And then 2000, you had, Ben Sheets was with Lasorda on the United States team in Sydney. So it's a different diaphragm where international baseball is. And Cuba's behind times. And, like if they're not going to bring guys like Jordan Alvarez, Yandy Diaz, what else are they going to try to make out of it in the next few other international tournaments that are ahead of us?
They have so few players they can call from that are playing professionally, but the ones that they have called, they've alienated them.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have such a small pool to call from, you can't risk losing guys over something that's petty or personal, or you're just like, I want to use guys that play back home.
Well, yeah, so like El Duque,
too, yeah.
Like El Duque made a quote recently that you shouldn't play if you're playing for the Cuban national team, you're a coward. I did see that. It's like, okay, well, you played for them. I think he's one of the best international baseball pitchers that have played in various international competitions, but you played on the national team in Cuba. It's still the same regime, that's there politically. And like you mentioned about Ernesto Martinez, Jeff, who you were kind of bunkering out, like players like that are held on a 40-man roster or just got released recently that are not on an active MLB roster, or, pretty much how do you see this Cuba team go against a team like Colombia that's going to have top pitching? I mean, they're not going to go bear down in this World Baseball Classic that Colombia has ever participated in. I think having a captain like Jose Quintana, also a pitcher like Nasbiel Crismat, sequencing certain things. I think Jose Mascara has a lot to look forward to in this World Baseball Classic, because I feel like he can manage better than the Mayor guys or the Herman Mesas, or probably, what we're going to see in that World Baseball Classic. And Yachty, who knows? Who knows what Yachty or Molina can do right now? And he's in a final for Magallanes going up against the Caribes de Anzoátegui in a few days. So, you have, other cumulatives right now. Colombia just had their camp at Estadio Edgar Renteria. It's still going on for the first few days. Other guys are going to go to MLB camp that are on MLB rosters. But, what do we think about Colombia this time around in this field that they're in this baseball classic?
I think Colombia can make it to the quarterfinals.
Okay. In Houston,
Puerto Rico and Canada, I think, are probably the best two teams. But Colombia has a ton of pitching that they have not had in the past. and they got
Right.
they got their best prospect is already committed to play. They got like guys like Corey Alfaro that have played in MLB that he's gonna play, and they they have a lot more depth than they used to have. I mean, 2017 they almost beat Dominican Republic and the U.S. and that team was like talent-wise far inferior to the talent level that they'll have for this edition. So I mean, I wouldn't say they're favorites to get out, but I think look you pair them in like Cuba, they have more talent than the Cuba does. Yeah, I think I would say I would have them as favorites over Panama and Cuba, and then I feel like Colombia, their first game against Puerto Rico is going to be massive. I imagine it's going to be Jose Quintana is going to be on the mound. And if they can upset Puerto Rico on opening night, that just like changes everything in the pool. And like Jose Quintana not being there was probably the difference between them advancing last edition and not, because they started Chris Mott against Mexico and they beat Mexico. If they had Jose Quintana another one of those starts, they might have beaten Canada or Great Britain, and they go into that. They might have went to the U.S. game undefeated at the time. So that injury was massive for them. So it was the difference between advancing and being in the qualifiers. So having him around this time, Quintana having him is going to be massive for Colombia, and I think that they got a chance to upset Puerto Rico on the opening day. But I would have them probably third in the pool, but very underrated team.
Okay, yeah, I actually agree with you because I was talking to Matt before the show, and I was like, Colombia might sneak through because Cuba's obviously in disarray. They're probably going to finish last, unfortunately, which sucks, but it looks like it's a situation right now. You have to have Puerto Rico as a favorite, especially on home soil, and they probably have the best roster anyway, although their pitching might be questionable in certain areas, but their lineup is solid still, I would say. Colombia definitely has some good things working. Quintana as the ace, like with his experience and just like his savvy veteran ability is like important for them, and that is a good point because I almost forgot he wasn't with them last time because I consider him such a staple for Colombia. You kind of just assume he was pitching for them, but like he will make a big difference for sure. I think the biggest game is going to be Canada versus Colombia. Actually, I think that's the one that's going to determine it because like that might end up being for second place. I feel like Puerto Rico probably gets first, and then like you're looking at the Canada or Colombia second with Panama like right behind that most likely.
Yeah.
Maybe Cuba four if they get lucky and they squeak one out against Panama, but not like that. Like,
but Panama, you probably could have Enrique Bradfield, Ivan Herrera, and Mundo Sosa.
Yeah, it's probably still better.
Jose Caballero.
Yeah,
it's like
true.
You have like a decent like maybe middle frame lineup from that, and then whoever's putting up like the first 10 games of like the Baseball Mayor Campeonato circuit that's going to go on after the Caribbean series. You're getting guys that are from there also in Panama playing a spring and summer league that's only 3 months. So, I mean, like, what else is going to be intact for Panama besides guys like Jaime Barea, Ariel Jurado, Paulo Espino, Severino Gonzalez, who just pitched in the Baseball United League recently. So, I mean, like, you have options, but what's it going to take that I feel like Colombia has some more reach right now in MLB than Panama? Even what we're seeing in the young prospect realm, that Panama had more players than Colombia, but I think it's neck to neck. Like, even in the international signing period, that these two countries, Colombia and Panama, are kind of, in the mix of everything else. So I think it's cool to see how they're growing in the pipeline and what other international events they could do down the road.
No, to keep it a stack with you, Cuba probably finishes in last place. That just hurts my heart to admit, but they probably will go winless, unfortunately. And they deserve it with the piece of crap roster that's put together because of all the stuff that's going on. So hopefully that wakes someone up, and after the poor showing they have this WBC and they fix it for the next time. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, like you were saying before. Like, what are we doing if we're not going to get like the Ramsey Rosarines of the world, or like the Jordan Alvarez's, or like those guys like that are really legitimate players. Even Rafael Iglesias, the guy who doesn't want to play for them, like Aroldis Chapman. happens, going to Britain instead of Cuba. Like, there's a million different examples. Like, NATO wants to play for them, and then they didn't want him to play. Like Cuban Americas, like Carlos Rodon. NATO, my bad. But yeah, like NATO, and then Carlos Rodon wanted to, and they denied any Cuban American, but that's a whole other can of worms. But realistically, I'll probably give you my prediction as like, let's say Puerto Rico 1. We're going to tentatively put Canada 2, but we don't feel amazing about it, but we'll put them tentatively as 2. We'll put Colombia 3, Panama 4, and Cuba 5. I'm
getting Colombia 2. I think the first game is going to be as intense. If Colombia wins that game at Hiram Bithorn Stadium, the first day of the World Baseball Classic, I think they got I think they could probably win the whole group, the whole Pool A, honestly.
Well, if they upset PR, then yeah.
Then they could probably beat everybody else. But I just have questions on Canada's roster. Like, what do we feel about guys like Tyler O'Neill, the Naylor brothers, Edward Julian, Abraham Toro? Like, what's our length on these guys? Like, what do you think about Owen Casey? I mean, like, how's this going to be building up for this team that Ernie Witt has again?
Well, I actually do think the Naylor brothers are playing, because I spoke to Witt at the WBC thing in Orlando, and he said he expects them to play. So I'm pretty sure they're both going to play unless something happens. The other people, I'm not as sure, except I know that Jameson Tyone committed, so that'll be good for their pitching. I think Owen Casey's going to give it a go, too, from what I understand. But I'm not as sure about the rest of the stuff you asked.
Paxton.
Yeah. Is he coming back?
I think they have like 24, 25 guys that reportedly are in. So, I mean, this is probably their best roster they've had, but I think the pitching is always the issue with Canada, because, James Paxton is supposed to be playing, and, he'd play anywhere, he's retired. So I think they kind of have a habit of having to like get retired guys to come back, because some of the younger guys don't want to pitch. Like Nick Pivetta is already like doubtful to pitch.
That's a big one.
And he's their best pitcher. So it's always kind of like they kind of have to, have a makeshift rotation a little bit. I think Jonah Tong is like is gonna be like the big difference maker for Canada.
He's a big leap stage.
Second, third guy.
Okay.
To go with. Jameson Tyone.
I asked about him, and he couldn't give me a yes or no answer. Like, Witt wants him badly, but he didn't say like if he knew for sure. But like, I don't know what's gonna happen with that.
Training with the Mets, I think that's the thing. But the Mets are like one of the teams that's like letting all their players go.
Vientos too, playing for Nicaragua. I was like, kind of like, well, you're not on a team that's going to win it all. Why would you not be a bench player for the DR? Or maybe he did have a chance to start on the Puerto Rico roster too. I felt that was kind of like a cheap way out to play for Nicaragua, because Miami is close to Port St. Lucie. So I feel like if he had like a certain injury to go about, he could just go up to Port St. Lucie if there were some, ends of like him being hurt at the World Baseball Classic. And I felt like that was kind of the cheap way out. Like, okay, well, Nicaragua's in Miami. The Mets are on the east side in South Florida. So I just, want to play for Nicaragua to say that, I'm close to like where I got to go back to spring training, for that matter. And then if I stay in Miami, I stay in Miami, because Pool D will lead to the championship game. That's how I see it.
I think that made sense for him, though, because
I think
he's
so
not
too.
Play meaningful amount of time with Puerto Rico, he had no chance to make the Dominican roster.
Dominican, I agree with you, but you don't think he could have carved the DH role of Puerto Rico even?
I think Puerto Rico, they have if you have Carlos Correa, you have Nolan Arenado,
that's
you
first.
have Francisco Lindor, you have Javier Baez.
Second, probably.
Set. And then DH, that kind of
Emmanuel Rivera.
If they're trying to get Riley Green playing the outfield, I imagine if they're trying, and it's a balancing act to try to find a place for him, and he really wanted to play third base.
Oh, okay. If he was anal about playing third base, and Nicaragua was the only way for him, then I guess that kind of makes sense.
And also, if he has a big tournament, he kind of gets like the adoration of delivering for Nicaragua, especially if you keep him up in the tournament. He gets kind of get praised like a hero type thing, and his players, sometimes they'll have a little bit of ego about it. So even if you don't advance, it's just like, oh well, I gave it a shot, and I did.
Yeah.
Well, Venezuela doesn't have good pitching, then Nicaragua might win 2 games in that pool.
It would take a lot because offensively, they're pretty underwhelming. Like they have some good young talent on the mound, but a lot of these guys are 19, 20, years old.
Well, Ismael Mungia has had a good year.
He's playing. Yeah, he's in it. Is Loaiza going to give it a go, or is there too many health concerns with him?
I think he is.
Loaiza, is he going to play for Nicaragua?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
He's almost a sure no at this point.
Play in the Asociada de Baseball Profesional Nacional, right?
The Boer. So, but he was basically
he's in a little bit.
Indios del Bor, right?
Yeah, he's with the D-backs now in the minor league deal, which is why they probably wouldn't want him to. I would imagine
the D-backs are giving some of the fringe roster guys strongly letting them know, if you want to make the team,
don't go.
WBC.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunate, but is Hubert gonna play too? Is he in it?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's pretty much
okay.
Yeah, yep. He made a name for himself on it last time, 3 years ago.
They're seeking permission, but I don't really. He's high A. I think he made one appearance in Double A. I don't see the blocking him for some reason.
Yeah.
Not someone that they envision on the Major League roster at any point in 2026. He should be cleared.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Nicaragua's going to have a tough time. And I understand why Vientos did it, though. I think he wanted to do it for his mom, too. And I'm sure she was very happy to see him embrace his Nicaraguan side. And it's his clearest path to playing time. And I also think this, and I wrote about this yesterday, I think Vientos needs to get off to a very good start after what happened last year. And I think the WBC could kind of help him, maybe. He's going to get those reps intense early, and maybe he'll be more ready when the season rolls around with the Mets. Because, last year, he got off to a terrible start. And he was trying to play catch up all year basically, and he really dropped off from his sophomore year to the good rookie year he had. So I think this is a massive year for him because the Mets kind of boxed him out a little bit. His role is very questionable, but I know we're talking more about Pool A. But that was a relevant topic too. There's definitely a couple of relevant topics we'll just sprinkle in as we do these.
I think another thing with Vientos also is even if he struggles, he's not going to catch crazy heat.
That's true as well.
If he was terrible with the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, they would be all over him about it. He'd be getting booed, and people be going message him online and just going crazy at him. So I think it's just it's kind of low pressure. It's low pressure.
That's a good point as well.
Play a starring role, so there's no real downside for him. If he struggles, it's whatever. If he does well, then he's He's like a hero, basically.
Yeah, I think that ego part definitely plays a factor because no one wants to take a bench role, be a reserve role. They want to be the guy, even if they don't win it potentially. I get what Matt
Dusty Baker, I don't feel like he's going in there. He knows he might not win. Every manager's going in there to win.
Yeah.
But does he really think they're gonna beat that PR team?
He's probably not in his heart. But
this is Pool A. We're crossing to Pool D. But I don't know. If we're gonna mix and match these topics here, I just feel in a Flagstaff deal that Mark Vientos could have had an option to play for Puerto Rico if he wanted to.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have certain pitching on Nicaragua get past teams like the Netherlands, maybe Israel, let alone because Israel might have a good team too. So
yeah, I think that there was a DH spot potentially because Riley Green's questionable, Springer's out. I could have seen a DH spot for Vientos maybe. I think that might have been possible. But if he wants to play third base, then that was it. We had to go to Nicaragua.
I think if you ask a lot of players, right, who they love the adoration. If you're a bench player that goes and makes the semifinals and finals, honestly, people are just whatever. You're just
still
part of the team, but you're not one of.
You're still making money in this event. Cuba got a split portion of each player got paid, from Cuba because you can't for the Department of State you can't have certain finances roll back into an event that's in the United States, and we can't be doing business with Cuba just like that. So like all those players in 2023 got paid individually by MLB and WBCI because they made it to Miami. And that doesn't happen. I'm not saying they're going to make it to Miami again, this Cuba national team. But I feel...
It's definitely not this time.
I just feel that with what other interchangeable lengths are here from teams building rosters, guys that are eligible for multiple countries, I think the World Baseball Classic has built such a big magnitude than most international tournaments, even like the World Cup, because you're not seeing guys confirmed to play for Argentina or the USA. Like it's one or the other, meaning it's not like they're eligible to play for multiple countries in soccer than what we're seeing with the World Baseball Classic. And, you know, I just think that, listen, like this roster or rosters in Pool A that we're going to see narrowed down to, I just think Puerto Rico, they got the team. Like you got Lindor. We said about the other players that are in that pack infield. Baez is probably going to be a center fielder if we had to guess too.
That's
because of
also.
Well, yeah, it's like another lane. Kike Hernandez isn't playing for Puerto Rico. So like that's a big blow. But even this Panama roster for the Caribbean series, like what is the take that Panama with this roster that they're going to go into in Jalisco, like what's their goal? Like what do you guys think? You don't have a regular season for your winter league, and you know, like how do you feel about even like pitchers that we're going to probably see in the World Baseball Classic, like I said about Espino before, Steven Fuentes, Severino Gonzalez, like I said before, Humberto Mejia. What do you think their pitching is going to uphold against these teams in the winter leagues that have played a full out winter league season?
I think Humberto Mejia hasn't played since the season ended in the NPB. So,
really?
I think it's kind of a weird situation. Like the Copa America getting postponed kind of hurt them because a lot of these guys haven't got to play very much.
Yeah, I mean, my intriguing player, so like Luis Castillo, he made a ridiculous play the past World Baseball Classic. Now, for people that aren't familiar with Baseball Reference or how many common names you said Luis Castillo, our colleague Leif Skodnick texted me the other day and was like, oh, I wonder which Luis Castillo. There's 5 Luis Castillos on Baseball Reference, which, you know, I don't see a Panamanian Luis Castillo. And then I send him the person, and it's like he hasn't played with an MLB organization in the minor league since like the mid-2010s. And you got to think of it this way, that Panama, like I said before, they're recruiting players from that Liga Mayor Campeonato that's going to be in the next few weeks, because they have all this amateur stuff that's been happening throughout the month. And I just think Panama, like Ruben Tejada's on this roster for the Caribbean series. Johan Camargo. I mean, like, what do you guys think, like, about how this roster is going to shape up now with everything? Like, how do you feel like do you think they could beat the Charos, the Tomateros,
Probably
and like
not.
other top teams like Cangrejeros or whoever's in it from the Dominican, if it's Toros or Escogido, in this edition of the Serie del Caribe? What do we think about what Panama's going to show for next week?
I don't think they'll beat them personally because they're not tuned up for it. And
Not
I
just
think,
one game. They won't win one game.
okay. I'm sorry.
In
They'll win.
full
Okay,
play?
I'm sorry. They'll win a game, but like I don't think they'll have like consistent success. Maybe we'll put it. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they win like a game or maybe two, but they're not going to win like a lot of games. I guess. I just don't feel like they're at the same level anyway. Even if they were fully healthy and prepped, like maybe they would be closer, but the thing is they're going to be playing catch-up ball. It's going to be tough in the beginning, and like it's kind of a tune-up for the WBC, but it's not that close to it, so it's kind of like a weird timing because like they still have like a month and a half basically until they have to do the WBC when it's done, or like a month and a week or whatever. So it's not like they're going right into the WBC, but I guess it helps give them some live game looks at least before they play in it.
I mean, I look at the Caribbean series a lot of times like it's kind of a crapshoot. Like the rosters can look so different than they were on how they ended as champions of their league, with reinforcements, guys dropping out, especially minor leaguers. You know, who their teams basically tell them, "We want you to come back," or start getting ready for spring training. So I think I could see them win a couple games, at least. Like I think it's their talent level isn't. They're not going to have a big talent mismatch really against many of the teams they're playing because they have a lot of guys who played top level baseball, like guys in MPB or guys who played in Mexico. I don't think talent wise they'd be overwhelmed, but it's guys who may not be sharp, guys who may not be immediately ready to go. But I mean I can see them win a couple games at least.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Two games.
I'm looking at it more from Jeff's perspective that not that they can't play, but the fact that they won't be sharp. That's kind of the angle I was taking also.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think this Cangrejeros team might try to get to the finals, though. I don't know. I wouldn't even say they're gonna win it all, but like, I think they could reach the finals of this Caribbean series. But then it's like, okay, what's DR's mission besides they know this roster is trailing guys. They know this roster has maybe two guys in MLB pipeline that could excel. They obviously know that even this is a club league event and not a federation national team event, they don't have the best guys.
Jeff, do you want to do your prediction tables for how you think Pool A is going to go?
Yeah, I've kind of waffled on this, like thinking about it privately.
Me too, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Cuba for me is they're going to the qualifier. I don't see the
can't believe it, man.
Talent on this roster. I mean, Levon Moinello, I think he's the guy who can go. He doesn't have the same restrictions as like MLB pitchers. Like they'll be cool with him going like 5 innings.
They're gonna need it.
Yeah. So I think it's Cuba might be able to steal one, but I think they're going to be relegated. Now Panama is an interesting team because Ivan Herrera might not play. Because
that's a problem.
He's going to have insurance issues because he got surgery after the season, and so many guys run into problems. So more than likely, he won't be covered by insurance.
Okay.
So that would mean the Cardinals would have to waive his insurance needs, and so I don't know if he's not a guarantee at all.
How is Jose Caballero looking? Is he in there?
I think he should be in there. I don't think he's had
because I spoke with him and he wanted to play when I felt like, so I think they just had to get approval, and I don't see why the Yankees wouldn't approve him.
I mean, it might be a thing where they're like, you want to compete for the starting shortstop job, we want you in camp.
That's one small player.
Ultimately,
yeah.
I feel like he's gonna play. He's always somebody that's very prideful about playing for Panama.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll probably be there. I think the key for them is Logan Allen. If they can, he was like they're going through paperwork and approval and all this stuff, but that the Guardians have like reportedly like given approval. So he's like their ace. I mean, you can kind of slide some of their pitchers like Jaime Barria down a slot, and it kind of gives guys better matchups. And I think he would pitch against maybe Canada. So I mean, if Panama can pull off an upset in that game, you never know. But I would have them probably 4th right now, and then it comes down to I tend to go against the grain on a lot of these type of predictions. I think Canada is going to finish 1st.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think they're going to beat Puerto Rico. I
Okay.
think they have like Puerto Rico. For me, there's so many question marks around pitching.
I'm
Like the
worried with
only
that too.
starting
Yeah.
pitcher that is supposed to be there is Barrios. Everyone else is totally up in the air.
Let me ask you this too. I know it's crazy. Why wouldn't they let Marcus Stroman play? They don't got no pitching. I know he's
Marcus
controversial,
Stroman,
but
as far
like
as I know, he said no.
that's interesting. I don't
No,
know
he
why.
did say no. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well. That's weird.
Yeah,
okay. All right.
I think
Thanks for the
he
clarification
didn't
there.
want to go.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not
know.
sure why, because
He has nothing
he
else
kind of
going
needs
on.
something to revive his career a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. And he's pitched well in the Classic before too.
Yeah,
It could have been a
that's-
good opportunity for him with them looking for
that's the
pitching.
thing. So he's
But
not
yeah,
going.
their pitching's. What about Seth Lugo? He's not going.
He committed in the summer, and then it's been like silence.
I feel like he will, because like we spoke to him too, and I think he's gonna do it. But maybe it's just like assumes he will, and it just hasn't gotten the
Well,
reaffirmation.
like Carlos Beltran, Yadi Molina, they haven't even mentioned him.
That's odd.
In anything lately.
Because he loves Puerto Rico and he's prideful about it too.
Yeah,
Like I feel like he
I've
would
been
want to
looking
play.
for anything. Like they've mentioned all these players that could go. Like Yadi's mentioned all
Well,
these players that were on the team.
let me see if I could try to help you with that somehow. Because like one of my guys is close with him, so I have to see if they can figure it out. Maybe.
Yeah, but so and then like Elmer Rodriguez Cruz. I think he dropped one of the surnames. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I think it was Cruz that he dropped. I think he just
Okay,
Elmer
so
Rodriguez.
Elmer
Now I want to
Rodriguez,
say.
he's by far the best pitching prospect. But there's been nothing on him. Nobody's really asked.
I know he really wants to, because like I've definitely talked about this before. I didn't ask the questions directly, unfortunately, when I spoke to him, because I had to do other things. But like I know he really is into the idea of doing it. I think he just has to get approval. It's just he would do it though if he was able to.
Yeah, but I think he could probably hit in the big leagues in 2026.
I think so as well. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up playing. I'd like to see him do it. I think it would be really cool. And yeah, he might get the call this year.
And then Eduardo Rivera, the Red Sox prospect, that's another guy. He's pitched. He's been dominant in the Winter League the last 2 years in Puerto Rico, and he's got great stuff. And he's somebody that like they traditionally have kind of relied on kind of like pitchers who kind of maximize the most of their skill sets, aren't really like hard throwers or have great stuff. Like Eduardo Rivera does both, and he'd be a huge upgrade on their rotation. But again, I haven't heard anything on him or anything that's going on. So I mean, as of right now, pitching is like big question mark. Like Edwin Diaz is supposed to be there, but I think aside from that, it's mostly position players that they said are playing.
Wait, so you think Edwin is going to go despite what happened last time?
Molina said he's in, so
I know he wants to do it. You think the Dodgers are going to approve it?
I'm pretty sure it was like a report that they already did approve it.
Okay.
Yachty basically
All right.
said it flat out.
All right,
All
yeah,
these
'cause-
players are on the roster and
All right.
he's on the team.
Yeah, Beltran
So-
wasn't as sure, but that was a while ago, so I'll
Yeah,
go with what
so,
you're
I
saying.
mean, Puerto Rico, they're good, but I think you have no George Springer.
Fernando
no
Cruz is in it, right?
Hernandez.
yeah.
They are. I feel like, people kind of look at them as like they're a lock to go first. They're an advance, a sure thing. And I'm just like, I don't know. I look at the roster.
Okay,
I'm
maybe
not sure.
Locke is strong, but I feel like they should at least be favored with the home soil, so at least get a
They'll
top
probably be
two.
favored, but
Maybe not Locke to win it all. Maybe
but
strong.
I think vulnerable. Like, I think you look at teams like the U.S., Dominican Republic, Japan. Like, if they don't finish first in their pools, like I'd be pretty surprised. Just
Yeah,
because the talent is
I
so
agree with
high.
you. Those three are like clad and shoulders above everyone else.
Japan is going to make it to the finals.
Most likely, yeah. Unless the U.S. or
There's no-
Dominican disrupts the party, maybe. That's the only
I
The
caveat.
Dominican would have to beat them in the quarters,
I think it's
maybe.
those
It's possible.
three teams they're the teams I would say for sure winning their pools. But
Yeah, I
guess
would
you never
feel
really
comfortable
know
with that.
until they play the games. But Puerto Rico, I'm like, they're vulnerable. They can't.
I think this one's. I think this one's actually the most questionable pool that we're talking about. Actually, so it's cool. We're starting with this one because there's so many different.
I think
questions.
Pool A is a group
Like
of
with
down.
Cuba, and then Puerto Rico's like
Like-
not as sure with the pitching alignments. And if they didn't make it on home soil, that would be a massive disappointment. The country would go crazy if they didn't make it. Like that would be a bad scene if they don't make it out of that
like,
pool.
Yachty is revered in Puerto Rico, but if they weren't to make it out of the pool, they'd be like, oh wait a minute, we got to talk about this.
Yeah, no, that would be a serious
at the
problem.
end.
They gotta
Fix
at
at
least
the
they
end.
gotta at least get second and get out of that thing. Whatever they do
I
after that is fine, but at least get out of it.
So I have Canada first, I got Puerto Rico second, Colombia third. but I think 1, 2, 3 are going to be like insanely competitive. Like
I like
think
that.
a lot
You don't
of
think
times-
Panama's gonna be competitive?
Oh, I think it'll be competitive, but it depends. They need Ivan Herrera, like because
Right.
if they don't have him, like they just like Miguel Amaya is supposed to play. He got approval from the Cubs.
That's big. He's
But-
really good.
Right.
Ivan Herrera is like the key to their offense. They don't really have another player that can really provide pop.
Yeah, they don't have like that big bat per se, right?
They need a Carlos Lee.
Yeah, then we'd be talking.
Yeah,
that's a nice throwback there. That's a good one.
Carlos Lee,
I think
Drew
Colombia
from-
is just really interesting because I think people look at them as like, well, they don't have a bunch of major league stars, so they're not that good. But I think in these tournaments, it's so many major leaguers come in rusty. They have not gotten work. You know, I think it's so quick at the end of the season, and they have so many guys that major leaguers have never seen.
Yeah, the young guys impress sometimes. They surprise you. Like those prospects really make noise in these type of tournaments sometimes.
Yeah, I think they won't have Didier Fuentes, which stinks because that guy's super talented, but he missed.
For Colombia, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he would have been interesting to have, but they have a lot of minor leaguers who can run it up there, and if major league players haven't seen them, then they can in a 1-game setting, you know, they can surprise you, and then it's just like, you know, you're looking up, you're down like 3-1.
I know they
Well,
have some
Michael
good pitching
Arroyo
prospects, too, for Colombia.
Yeah, like Michael Arroyo, though, I just feel he's a big time player. When we know that he's a held major leaguer, we can say, oh, I saw Michael Arroyo play at the qualifiers, even if like he did well against a team like China, who didn't really have pitching at all during the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. And, you know, it's just funny to say, like, well, can Michael Arroyo be a major leaguer and still hit against a mixed set of guys in the World Baseball Classic that play professionally either in Mexico during the spring and summer, and then certain guys like even the Cuba team, like I said before, that has guys in NPB, they're seeing top competition in Japan and playing against top competition, you know, 6 days a week. And I just feel like this Cuban team won't go far, but I think it has some veteran presence. But I just think the young guys aren't going to step up.
The problem is, like, they're in a very they're in a bad situation. Whoever's playing on that team is in a bad situation because everything's magnified on them. The team's so controversial. A lot of people don't even want them playing. Like, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them, and they're not going to respond well, most likely, unfortunately.
When they're playing in the United States.
Although they're also playing with house money now because no one expects anything in a sense, but, like, it's still going to be a tough situation for them.
I think what's hurt them, though, is the MPB guys that have been signed in recent years out of Cuba, a lot of them have really struggled. Like, if some of these prospects that have been signed were blossoming in Japan, like, this roster would look a lot better.
Yeah, but Ariel Martinez, it's like, you know, he's a good hitter in NPB.
Ariel Martinez, I think he struggled mostly in NPB.
Well, like, in his first few years, he was good.
Let me ask you that.
He wasn't as streaky, but like now he's streaky. But now it's like, what other players you're gonna have besides? I think Radio Martinez is like the third best closer in the world, and he's not in Major League Baseball. So
that's interesting.
You know, like, you know, go figure, right? Like him or Andres Muniz. You know, like they're one of the top relievers in the game. But one pitcher who's still under contract from the Federación Cubana de Baseball and Softball, Radiel Martinez, it's like, does he want to play in MLB at the age of what? He's now 30? 29?
Yeah, he could. It's possible.
He hasn't even stepped on an MLB field yet. It's like, not that it's his fault, but...
Wasn't Uriel 34 when he started playing with the Astros? Uriel was old when he started playing with the Astros.
Well, that's Uriel. I'm talking about Radio Martinez.
Oh, no, I'm just giving an example of like someone that played in their 30s, like after
I know
Cuba.
People remember this. He was going to sign with an MLB team way back in 2019, 2018.
Because of the Cuba,
Yeah,
because
he was on the list with Levon Moinello. They were gonna be basically up for MLB teams to sign, and
right, because the Federation had an agreement.
Yeah,
they had an agreement with
before it got
MLB back
canceled.
then in 2018 to have players from Cuba not have an alienated deal of defecting, quote
One of the
unquote, but they
players
could
on the
sign
list-
from the island.
one of the players on that list is going to be playing. He plays with the Mariners in a minor league affiliate. Is going to be on this roster as well.
Which player?
Oh, I'm trying to draw a blank. He plays in AAA in Tacoma. He was
AAA Cuban player.
Yeah. He was the last player signed under the agreement before it got canceled.
Well, we figured that out.
Victor Labrada.
Yes, Victor Labrada, that's his name. Yeah. He was the last player signed that was allowed to leave Cuba without defecting under the.
That's crazy.
Agreement. And now he's gonna. So I knew once this roster was gonna happen, I knew he was gonna be on the team because there's not really any type of tension between him and the Cuban Federation. So I feel like he was a lock.
Is there any surprises that could fix this or are completely done? Nothing's gonna come save the day. There's no something we're not expecting.
What I really haven't. There are some prospects who have left Cuba.
Okay.
That I'm surprised that we haven't heard anything on them. One of the Mariners' top prospects. Lazaro Montes.
I've heard of him
Lazaro
before.
Montes.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
His parents left legally. They didn't defect.
Okay.
And so he would be someone who I would imagine they would ask to play.
Okay.
But they never. I don't think they asked him. There was never any report. They didn't contact him at all. So I'm just that was for me. I'd been that'd be one of my number one targets if I was him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Louisville to get lucky there and they'll do it somehow. Maybe they'll be better than we think, but the outlook right now looks terrible. They're in that 4 to 5 spot. It's really tough. Just for my heart, I'll give them one win against Panama. I guess I'm gonna flip flop at the end of this, but
it's sad to say, but being relegated to the qualifiers can ultimately be kind of the kick.
Yes,
that they need.
we talked about before.
Cuba's going to be in the qualifiers. Yeah,
if they play how we think they're going to play, unfortunately, yes, which should never happen to them. And I think at that point, people are oh crap, we should probably start taking this more seriously. We got relegated to the qualifiers. To your point, maybe that'll actually, unfortunately, that might be what it takes to get this thing sorted out. Sadly,
but that'll be the biggest collapse because they were in the semis.
I know it's in that. Oh, I know it's in. I know. To the qualifiers, it's pathetic.
Not either win a game or win one game or get relegated.
I'm sick. I'm not happy about it.
You were in the semis in Miami. Had protesters delay sectors of minutes in certain frames of innings.
This is so embarrassing
and that's
for them.
That you're gonna go out just like that in 4 different calendar cycles.
And
in international baseball play, it's crazy.
History, not advanced out of the first round.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I meant when they were maybe consensus top 4 was strong, but that's what I'm saying. I always expected them to make a nice run into the elimination round. Every time they suit up, I expect get out of the pool, win a game or two maybe. But although I'll say this, their run was a little bit fluky at semis last time because they kind of got lucky to make it out of the pool. There was some crazy.
Well, they had to go through Australia.
That broke.
So they didn't. They didn't.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. As much as I like them and I'm happy they made the semis and it's cool. There was a little bit of an easy route to the semis, kinds of.
I think that was why the pools got changed. It was because Cuba made it all the way through, but just got torched by the U.S.
I know that was rough. That was a mixed emotion.
Oh, they got blown out, and then last.
I know. I wanted to see it. I knew USA was going to beat them, but I wanted to see a competitive game, and that was tough. I was like, damn it! I wanted to see a bit more entertaining game at least.
It's not even, but you got the pitching coach making pitching changes.
Oh God, that sounds bad.
Not even your manager.
What is? I don't know how they figured that out.
That's
Armando Johnson was just a complete disaster that got outmanaged by Mark DeRosa, an MLB Network analyst.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then Cespedes was also done when he was playing. He had nothing
with
left.
A bunch of studs he had to manage, let alone
Mark
DeRosa didn't manage that
team.
But but also, like they also brought in a manager now who was like universally disliked. So it's like,
Of
Herman
course,
Mesa.
of course
Yeah,
they did, because they can't do anything right. I'm not
I
even
just said his
surprised.
name like 30 times this episode.
you can't,
Yeah.
if
Oh,
like that's
God.
the thing. It's like even the
I'm
players
so
who
disgusted.
would consider Cuba, you have a manager that like is like very disliked. They're not gonna want to like do it, especially because like if you're a player and you know you're gonna have all these other Cuban players like trashing you in the media.
Okay,
for
let's
playing.
make our bull. Yeah, that's like El Duque, like Kim saying that does not
So,
help anything.
yeah, like you. All right. So like this is like before we get into certain concrete predictions. I don't want to hear even where I live in Miami that like listen, this Cuba team has no business being in Puerto Rico, and I mean
This
this.
current version of how they're constructed is what you mean, right?
Yeah, they have no
exactly.
they have
I agree.
no business being in this World Baseball Classic because I just feel that they're not going to have certain pitching that's going to be worked.
Like two
And
good
you know,
pitchers,
like
maybe.
and if the Blue Jays are going to limit Yariel Rodriguez, you're pretty much like
Which I'm actually
screwed.
surprised by because he's not even on the major league roster anymore. So I'm surprised they even care that much to limit him, which is another weird thing
Yeah,
about this.
and I don't know how like so like I'm looking at like all the Cactus League and Grapefruit League schedules for the World Baseball Classic.
Mhm.
Colombia is playing the Pirates on March 3rd at Lecom at 1:05 p.m. These are all March 3rd time frames.
Okay, so like 2 or 3 days
Netherlands
before. Yeah.
Netherlands are playing at Baltimore at Ed Smith Stadium at 1:05 p.m. Panama's playing at Yankees at Steinbrenner Field at 1:05 p.m.
Mhm.
Canada's playing Toronto in Dunedin
Huh, that's interesting.
at 1:07 p.m. Israel's playing the Marlins at Roger Dean at 1:10. Nicaragua's playing the Mets at 1:10 p.m. at Port St. Lucie. Hocoham Stadium in Arizona, Brazil's playing out there. Cuba is playing against Kansas City in Arizona. Italy's playing the Cubs at Sloan Park. USA's playing the Giants
Wow.
at 3:05. Quick 5 more games. Great Britain's playing the Brewers at American Family Field. Mexico's playing the Diamondbacks in Salt River. Detroit's playing the DR at Quisqueya. So DR's playing all their games. They're not even going to go to the Grapefruit League. They're just going to play all their 2 games in Estadio Quisqueya, then go to Miami. Puerto Rico's playing the Red Sox at JetBlue and in Fort Myers, and then in West Palm Beach, the Venezuela national team is playing Houston. First set of games. March 3rd.
That's a loaded docket there. That'll be really interesting to see take place. I know they've done it in the past. I've always found that interesting.
Well, I mean, they have to play warm up games.
It makes sense.
Too.
Yeah,
I know one thing that like Nelson Cruz and was like complaining about, as well as Al Pujols, is like the fact that they don't let players join national team camp like way sooner. I think eventually that's something that they really need to.
It's actually valid, honestly, because like Japan gets to play with the guys all year round, and no one else really has.
The MLB players and the MLB players come later in the Japan camp.
I think it's just better, like for the event, like warm up games against like split squad MLB teams. Like I feel like there's just not that much interest there. It's just kind of like whatever.
Well, the Tigers have a split squad. The second day, it's their split squad, so they're only bringing their full roster for 1 game.
Yeah,
the Tigers. It's like, Santo Domingo.
No, Jeff's kind of right. Yeah,
like a fan, you know, it's just kind of like if it's like 1 game against your actual like starting players. How many of them and how many of them are going to play like the full game of just starters before they let some of like kind of like bench guys come in? It just I feel like they need to like expand it so like national teams are playing national teams before the event.
Yeah, but then they know what they have. Like that's the cheat code. But you play with each other.
Well, I mean,
if you're in the same league or the same team.
Group per se, like it can be something where you schedule beforehand, like don't have to do like where Japan was playing Korea. Like I was a little.
Well, they've done
like,
friendlies. Yeah, like the teams out in the Eastern Hemisphere, they do more friendlies than Puerto Rico, DR. Like you don't see this is why all right, so like the Robinson Cano game, at City Field a few months ago. I wasn't there, but Life was. Like that game, I felt like was a hype bait for people that don't know that these Caribbean Winter Leagues are what phases these rosters. And that's the thing, like you're not going to get Juan Soto, Jose Ramirez. So I wanted to redirect that game because I felt like if you had somewhat of a product like that in November, but yes, it is cold at Citi Field in November, or you move it to Miami, you have a little bit of a flavor of both Federation national teams instead of two club league all-star length stuff, if that makes sense.
I feel like if you want people to get hyped, it's oh, this is national teams, but I mean, it's not really, it's
right. That's what I was saying. Yeah. And even I see stuff on I saw stuff on WPIX, Kid Miro, he was talking about the DR team's gonna have a solid deal because of Cano. I'm like, bro, Cano hasn't played in Major League Baseball in 4 years. It's a length of trail end guys, and I feel it would have been better if they had that type of game in Miami because you get more of that Latin flavor here, and the weather is nice, and you're in a dome stadium. But yes, New York being so populous of the Dominican Republic community in New York City and somewhat of Puerto Rico in the South Bronx and certain parts of New York City and the tri-state, both sides, DR and PR. I just feel like they needed to do that in Citi Field, but it's you didn't have the top players. Yeah. And I feel like that's what kind of gets into the mix of what you're even going to do in spring training. Who do you bring? Split squad. I'm reading this too right now that Panama's playing Detroit at Lakeland at Publix Field. So I think on the following day, March 4th.
I think it's tough because MLB organizations will fight things to the death.
Yeah.
To give any permission for any player. So I get they don't want to see MLB players leaving.
It's
February 20th.
It's a tough situation because Edwin Diaz is the prime example of why you don't want to send anyone to the WBC.
But that could happen at any point.
Hold on. I know. I'm not condoning it. I'm just giving the reason of why teams are probably hesitant to send certain guys there. It could happen in spring training, like you said.
Yeah,
the Mets did a stupid fake World Series celebration. Remember that? It could have happened while they were doing that that one time. Honestly, could happen when you're walking out of the dugout.
That was honestly, it sucked that it happened for Edwin, and I hate that it's how they viewed the WBC after that. But the fact that they use a closer as a crutch for the team's failures, I was come on, give me a break.
Well, that's the Mets for you, but
what makes a playoff team and not playoff team?
Yeah, that's the Mets for you, but that's only a Mets response. Honestly, no, I agree with you. I'm not saying they shouldn't send the guys. I'm just saying why teams might not want to send the guys. But I mean, hey, it's basically spring training. It's just a ramped up version of spring training. They're competing at a higher stakes earlier than normally would. But at the same time, they're still playing games, and the pitch counts keep the players safe, the starters. Because, if you're not going over 60 pitches, it's kind of similar to what you would do in spring in most situations, except towards the end of it where they're closer to 100 maybe. So, honestly, it's just good baseball. It's fun baseball. It's clean baseball. And, everyone should be able to play in it that wants to play in it. That's what I would say to end
it. If a player is entering healthy, it'd be different if it's a pitcher that had
if there's health concerns, then no. That's my caveat. Yeah. If you have something lingering or surgery that needs an issue, then no. Jeff, let's wait till the roster announcements for Pool B, and then we'll do Pool B after the roster announcements next week.
I think Pool B is honestly very, very underrated. I feel people seem to have this idea that it's an easy pool for the US, and I don't see that at all. They have more talent than everyone.
I'll cut this part because it's going to be too long, but we could talk about this to talk about it. But so it's Mexico, it's Italy, It's who's the other
Great
one?
The
Britain.
United States,
Great Britain and Brazil. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brazil and United States.
Yeah, I was wrote about it before, but like it's
I think
everything's jumbled
I
up
think
right
it's
now for
like
me. Do you think
feel
is
like
Brazil better than we think?
I think it depends. They need Boba and CJ Capus who play for the Guardians.
I know Bichette's hell bent on playing. They just gotta
Yeah,
get the
I think
Is
approval, I
Jan Dope's
guess.
one of the coaches? I know Leonardo Reginato's playing.
yeah he's playing, yeah. But
What do you? I know
I think
Mexico's gonna be good.
Jose Contreras' son is supposed to be on the roster.
That's right. I did notice that.
Whose son?
Jose Contreras, the Cuban pitcher.
Oh yeah. His son's supposed to play for Brazil.
Yeah.
What about Lucas Ramirez?
I think Lucas Ramirez is supposed to be on the team. They haven't.
Yeah,
announced
I
it
think
yet.
I
Yeah, they
heard
haven't
about that
announced it,
too.
right?
How do you feel about Great Britain? Do you think they could be
I think
decent?
Great Britain, one of the underdogs of the tournament. I think they're sneaky.
Matt liked that too. He was saying that
Because-
also.
I guess the
maybe
Bahamian talent that they'll have. I think besides Jazz,
Jazz is huge, obviously.
there's who's the other
Sebastian
player?
Walcott.
Walcott's
is-
really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
He's-
that's what I was
he hasn't
thinking of.
committed
Yeah.
yet.
Harry Ford, like we talked about before. Aroldis Chapman's going to be massive closing
They got
games.
Brendan Beck,
Beck, I love
Bay.
Yankee. Yup.
and got Tristan Beck, his brother's on the team. They're trying to get Shun Mizutani, who plays for the Fighters and MTV.
There was someone else decent I thought that did it for him in the past. I got to check. Like, I'm
Right.
drawing a blank though. They have a few
Yeah.
guys I'm not thinking about that are decent.
Oh, Thompson, Tristan Thompson.
Is he going to play Thompson's brother? Trace?
Trace Thompson. I mean,
Tracy
he's like-
Thompson.
he's pretty. I think he's like towards the end of his career at this point. So I would be mildly surprised if he plays, just because I don't think that he would be like a starter. So I don't know how interested he would be in like a bench role, because they have kind of a larger pool to pick from this time around than they did last time. I imagine B.J. Murray, who plays with the Cubs AAA affiliate, I imagine he'll be on the team. Nick Ward should be on the team. Yeah, I mean, they have like I don't think they had any major leaguers last time, and this time they could have 5, 6, 7. So I mean, they have the Leiter brothers. They could play. They're all.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
so
Jack
I
was
think-
even considering that.
And then Aroldis Chapman. Obviously,
He's in there,
It's so funny
yeah.
that they're almost entire pitching staff.
What about Pakistan? What about Kumar Rocker or whatever his name? Yeah.
He's from India. I don't think he qualifies eligibility.
That's interesting.
Because it was like 1947 when they became independent, and it's kind of like a weird thing where they kind of had to choose way back when on which country they wanted to choose a nationality. So I think it's kind of like a weird gray area, but I don't think he's going to qualify. But I think they're very interesting roster. That I feel like people just kind of, I don't know if the jerseys like adds to the element of them just being like a ragtag group that people don't think is all that
I
talented.
hate those jerseys. Could they please fix those? Those were terrible.
I think they were supposed to be with Under Armour last year.
Those were some of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm
The
praying to
red
God.
jerseys don't look terrible, but they just didn't. I think the only. I think
Bro,
they
those
look
gray
good.
ones looks like an intramural baseball team in high school. Like that was so bad.
Right.
Or a club
But,
college
yeah, I
team.
think-
Oh
Yeah.
my
That's
god.
the-
Yeah.
Like, it
Oh
would
my
surprise me
God.
if they beat like Italy. Like, I think
Yeah.
they'll be very competitive.
I think
And
Italy's
they'll
gonna be
competitive,
good.
and the Italian roster is so hard to predict, like, because they have so many guys eligible, but you have no idea if they're interested. But they have a pretty good starting point. I was surprised Aaron Nola got permission.
Nola's huge, and
Yeah, I'm
Teal's gonna
surprised
be
the Phillies
good
let him
too.
because he's got a big contract, was injured and not very good in 2025. They're like, okay, go ahead and pitch. I was like, okay, like I guess.
Vinny
Yeah.
Pasquantino and Caglianone will be nice for them.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
it's gonna
Jack
be
Caglianone's gonna be a
interesting
big,
to see how they
big
fill
boost.
out that roster, but I feel like the worst team in all the other pools are a step below Brazil. I feel like Brazil could probably beat if they have all their major league guys. They could probably, if Dylan Lee joins too, they could probably beat like an Israel or Nicaragua or Czech Republic, or
They're not making it out of that pool though. That
but
pool's too
they're
tough.
gonna probably finish last. But I think it's gonna be more competitive than I think. They'll be more competitive than a lot of other last place teams are. But
Yeah.
I think it's really competitive. It's just the U.S. is just so crazy stacked.
Yeah,
But
it's going to be tough for
like-
anyone to get through them. The biggest test for the U.S. is probably Mexico, I would say.
Yeah. Mexico
Italy's.
really depends on
I
what
mean,
they
if
do.
Nova's pitching for Italy and he's on, that might be a little bit challenging because Italy does have some good bats.
But you know they ain't gonna let him pitch more than 4 innings. Like,
Yeah,
they're gonna
it's
throw him
true.
in and be like, if he pitches more than 4 innings, like they'll never see.
Well, it's a pitch limit. It's the actual pitch count.
Yeah,
right.
it's like 60, I think. I'm
I
pretty
think
sure.
65.
Mhm.
But
Oh,
it's-
60.
but
You're
for-
right. Yeah, I think it is
frontline
65.
pitchers,
Yeah,
it's like
65. Yeah.
60. It's only 65 for the guys who are not expected to be major leaguers. Everyone else is like, oh, it's a little lower. It's like,
That's fair too. Yeah, 60 might be a soft cap maybe in certain situations. I mean, we'll have to see how that goes. But guys, this was pretty fun. We'll definitely look forward to a few more of these. I like doing the part 2 for after the roster drops for Pool B. So whatever, I know you. I actually quote tweeted you before. I think you said what, like 8 or 10 days till we have the rosters.
Yeah, February 3rd, right?
February 3rd it's finalized, and then they're having the show on MLB Network on February 5th.
So
We'll be in Guadalajara, me and Life. We'll be in
Yeah,
the
so we might have to.
2026
I might have to
eBay.
go with Jeff then, but like we'll figure it out as long as you. Hopefully you have time to do it. But if it's February 3rd, that means we can go like the 4th or 5th or something, or like.
I think we won't know publicly until the 5th, even though Japan like basically just released their entire roster.
Yeah, we could do the day before. We could do the 6th maybe.
Japan has like no limits.
a few
Like,
days before.
They're like going like full on like without rule regulations. They're just
Yeah.
hopping over
There's
the rule regulations.
some-
Okay,
Their
so
roster.
we'll have the 3-man chat going, and we'll discuss someday that hopefully we can get all 3 of us. Worst comes to worst, we'll get 2 of us to at least do it because we
Okay.
gotta do it obviously
Sounds
for
good.
when it gets announced. Because that'll be cool. But guys, thanks. It's cool. I'll say something here. You know how the Super Bowl's coming up in 2 weeks? This is our Super Bowl that we're leading up towards right now, basically, with the
World Baseball
WBC.
Classic.
The WBC is the equivalent of our Super Bowl to those football
World
fans
Cup.
are as into baseball, basically. And it's more like the Olympics, honestly, because it's only once every few years, in essence, because like it's
We'll
not
have
even
baseball
yearly.
back.
Well, that'll be good
Really.
too. I'll say like the modern Olympics, like without real like the pros playing. I guess like it's interesting. It's basically like our. I like the Super Bowl analogy since we're in Super Bowl time. Now we'll roll with that. That sounds fun.
Okay.
It is our
Bowl
Super
for
Bowl.
2 weeks.
Global baseball, baby.
Yep, it's the
Got it.
World Baseball Network Super Bowl. All right, guys, have a good one.
All right.
Take care.